If you are not from Konoha and I sense your chakra, I'm busting my Rasengan.
It was the best event in the history of DAZN Misfits, and one of the best tournaments in the history of boxing. Misfits 004 looked even better knowing there was a UFC event at the same time. While Sean Strickland clapped his hands, the Misfits made a real show for everyone. Let's start the analysis in order, as well as count how many fights we guessed. Taylor versus Virgo. In our previous video, we said that the fight would be competitive, since Anthony Taylor, although he does not have a base in boxing, has a good chin, and in a 4-round fight he has the opportunity to catch Idris in exchanges, which will be a chance to win. Anthony's progress in fights is noticeable. In the last one, he almost knocked out the opponent.
Here we go. Don't blink, Todd! Oh! Just like that!
But as it turned out, Anthony does not particularly like cardio training. Already in the second round, he ran out of steam, which Idris took advantage of. He methodically and safely beat Taylor until the final bell. Good work with the jab, as well as hooks and uppercuts to the body. In our time, bodywork is a forgotten art, but Idris revives it on his own. But let's be honest, he's too good for such events. Virgo should fight with professionals, or at least top YouTube boxers like Tommy Fury. Event predictions? 0-1, not in our favor. Brook versus Ordway. The fight of two girls from different worlds, the actress of adult films Elle Brook against the TikTok sensation Faith Ordway. Elle already had experience of fighting. She has one victory under her belt, while Faith has just made her debut in the boxing ring. However, her height and the length of her arms should have equalized the odds in this Battle of the Titans. In our prediction, we said that the victory would be for Elle Brook, primarily due to mental preparation. Adult industry workers are mentally built differently than TikTokers. That was reflected in the fight. Both girls run at each other. It was one of the craziest first minutes in the history of boxing.
Right to it! Right to it! Got a lot of technique, but who the cares?
However, Brook was mentally stronger, thanks to which she was able to connect better in this tornado. It's worth noting her prepared combos for the fight, as she used her left hand to move her opponent's head towards right straight, which brought her victory by knockout in the first round. By the way, on the same evening, Salt Papi will use the same straight punch. And our event predictions become 1-1. Taylor versus Swarmz. Everyone joked about the boxing skills of Madman Swarmz. No one took him seriously like our prediction. Ryan will have to climb an incredibly steep mountain to get the win in this one, and will probably have to pour a vial of pig's blood into Swarm's ear in his sleep to even get past level 1 of his armor. But unfortunately, it still wouldn't be enough. Swarmz wins by doctor stoppage in the first 10 seconds. However, the fact is that we were not joking. Swarmz really has the potential of the greatest boxer in the history of mankind. With just one punch, he broke the orbital bone of Ryan Taylor, because of which the doctor stopped the fight. What's scariest about this situation is that Swarmz connected with the jab. It's not even a power punch. Let us remind you that he broke the face of a man who went through a war with Slim. And in the fight for whose last name will be Taylor, Ryan Taylor gave a competitive fight to professional MMA fighter Anthony Taylor. However, against Swarmz, he held on until the first blow. Let's be honest, with such an accurate prediction, we deserve at least 10 points. Event predictions, 11-1. B-Dave against the mysterious opponent. If you have questions, you can go to my personal Instagram, link in the description. This is the moment when Misfits surpassed the classic sports events and pro wrestling in one event, while B-Dave and the whole world held their breath in anticipation of who would become his opponent. No one could have thought that it was him.
Oh, wait! Oh my God! This is the dead man! Oh, where's the coffin? You gotta be kidding me. Mark Calloway is almost 7 feet tall.
Yes, the second best fighter in history after Swarmz. The Undertaker, pride of Mexico, Luis Alcatraz Pineda is back. This return dwarfs all returns in pro wrestling, as evidenced by the public's reaction. The world is divided into before and after Pineda's return. While the whole world was in shock from the return, no one knew that the real surprise awaited in the ring. Mexico's pride activated the inner Canelo and began throwing flashy combinations, hooks to the body, and showed excellent distance control. He looked like a brand new fighter. This fighter didn't even have the shadow of the guy who liked to scratch his head in the fight with KSI. It's also worth paying tribute to B-Dave. Despite the lack of experience and short notice, he showed a good performance. He did not give up and managed to take the end of the fight. However, this was not good enough to defeat Pineda. Salt Papi versus Bruckner. Potentially the most technical fight of this event, attack against counterattack, right-handed against left-handed, boxing skills against physical preparation. This fight gave an unequivocal answer to all questions. Salt Papi showed an incredible sense of distance and mental games with the opponent, while Bruckner worried about the position of his front leg, constantly stepping behind Papi's leg. Father of Salt read every movement and took notes. Josh tried to push through jab and then start exchanging, but it wasn't enough. He didn't throw out the feints, and the movements were too stiff, which Salt Papi took advantage of. He created a false sense of success for Josh to continue to step deep behind Papi's leg with jab. Then he created an angle for a counterattack. With this position of the body, he decided to throw a straight, which opened his jaw. And for Salt Papi, no more is needed. He just threw a precise straight on the shift, which put an end to the fight. The scariest thing about this performance is that he only used one punch. The last time he hit anything other than straight, he destroyed the opponent in 20 seconds. With this performance, Salt Papi separated himself from the rest of the YouTube boxers and entered the elite club. Ideally, he should fight against Jake Paul, but this will destroy Jake's boxing career, and he will definitely not accept this fight. And our score is predicted becomes 12-1. Slim versus Zanetti. The time for the co-main event for the title of champion, undefeated Slim against the tough Tom Zanetti. This is another fight where Slim is several times lighter than his opponent, which became immediately noticeable. Tom looked much more muscular, but what surprised the most was his control of the distance. For most of the first round, Slim missed, but as soon as he calmed his nerves, we saw the classic hitman. However, the problem is that it was really a classic hitman. Slim was tired again in the middle of the second round. His excuse after the fight was that his opponent was too heavy and exhausted him in the clinch. However, he's had this problem since the first fight, which is why Slim began to miss a lot of punches. To his credit, he ate some bombs clean on the chin, but he didn't fall. However, in these exchanges, Albaher himself did connect with accurate straights. It's worth noting his right straight exit from the clinch. This is his most underrated weapon. As a result, we got a real war, where Tom showed character and even managed to take one round. And our score is predicted becomes 13-1. KSI versus Temper. This was a fight of two extremes, Southpaw versus Orthodox, attacking pressure against static counterattacks, right overhand versus left straight. It's in every sense a classic boxing matchup. But the only thing that made this matchup less interesting was Temper's defense in exchanges. Every time you put a lot of pressure on him and force him to enter the exchanges, he is nervous. because of which he eats unnecessary blows, which KSI did from the very first second. He tried to recreate the exchanges that Slim did with Temper. He stepped behind Temper's foot to create an angle for hook attacks, then added a Michael Page-style jump. The point is that with this movement of the hands, you make the opponent nervous in anticipation, and instead of throwing the jab, you burst in with a straight punch into close range. But KSI didn't just cut the distance, he forced Temper to lower his hand with the straight punch. After that, he KO'd him with a hook. JJ really did his homework and technically got a lot better. Based on all of the above, it's clear that KSI and Salt Papi are technically on a different level, and the fact that they fight in completely different styles makes this matchup more interesting. While Jake slowed down in his boxing career, others had already caught up with him. The technique, speed, and strength of KSI and Papi is comparable to Jake Paul, so the winner of this triangle can safely be called the best YouTube boxer. And the score of the predictions of this tournament is 14-1. Which moment of Misfits 004 did you like the most? If you like my content and want to get early access, you can visit my Patreon. There you can find not only YouTube boxing videos, but more, like MMA breakdowns, breakdowns of movies, and video games. Link in the description.